Hey, Mary J. I like to call you Mary J, but what do you call yourself usually? What do people call you?
Mary J is good, but I respond to Mary and I respond to
Okay,
MJ as well.
MJ. Oh, that's a good one.
It is a good one.
Maybe
It is a
maybe
cool
I'll
one.
switch maybe I'll switch over to MJ.
You're welcome. I
Okay, cool.
Mary J and MJ is more recent, but it can be interesting being in a room with people and someone's going Mary and someone's going MJ, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
all of it.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. It's a cool name though. Um, but why don't you introduce yourself?
Mm.
And yeah, and what you do, and maybe also tell people how we know each other so that I don't have to talk about it, like from your perspective.
How do we know each other? LinkedIn. How do we track that back? Financial
Um,
services.
well, no, the first time we actually properly met was when we did the FBI conference.
Ah, yes, that's true. I was going to say
Yeah.
too many threads. How do
We
we nail
knew
it?
about each other before, but
Yes.
that was the but then we met at that recording
Yes,
that we did.
Convention 2020.
Yes, the digital
Yes,
one.
okay.
Uh,
So, who am I? What do I do?
yeah.
That's tough. I never know where to start. I've started calling myself a millennial multi potentialite, a
Mm,
delightful descriptor that came out of a TED talk that I watched,
okay.
um, where it's like, I do everything, I do anything. I am a generalist
Yeah.
and a specialist of many different things.
Yeah.
A lot of it is focused on coaching, on self development. I describe myself as a change maker, and I
Okay.
describe myself as someone who's here to help other change makers to purpose, abundance, and freedom.
Okay.
And how I do that is I coach, I train coaches, I mentor, and then my passion project is my financial services provider, my journey to freedom. And
Okay.
that is like an intersection of everything,
Mm,
financial planning, financial advice, but a lot of financial coaching, a
okay.
lot of helping people with their relationship to money,
Mm,
who they are, why they want money, what they want for their lives, and how to build a
mm.
life that feels like purposeful, meaningful, abundant, free, based on them, not what financial services says they should be doing, um, and should care about financially or from a product perspective.
Right. So maybe give me an idea of what do you see the difference between advice, financial advice, and financial coaching being. Let's
Oh,
not go
it's
into the
massive.
financial advice, financial planning debate yet,
Yeah, yeah.
but like financial advice versus like and versus coaching. What's the sort of the difference there?
Yeah, very distinct, very different. For me, the key distinctions of financial advice is there's an expert, financial
Mm,
advisor, and there's a client, not an expert. And the expectation is that the expert, the financial advisor, is going to tell the client what to do. So
right.
I'm going to you because I don't know what to do and you have the answers. Whereas, and often it's focused on product and on very traditional financial planning things like insurance and investment
Mm,
and
mm,
retirement and children's education funds and stuff like that.
yeah.
Financial coaching is more about the human being, your
Okay.
relationship to money. A financial coach is not superior to the client or the coachee, as we would call them.
Mm,
I'm an expert in having a conversation with you because I've
right.
spent time developing my skills to do that. But I don't know what you should do with your money. I don't know what you should do with your life. So
Yeah.
the kind of conversation I'm going to have with you is one where I'm curious and I partner with you to go like, okay, so what about money? What do you want to do with it? What
Mm,
does it mean to you? And maybe there's advice that could follow that, but
yeah.
in my opinion, it should start with coaching, because most people
Right.
have no idea what they
Yeah.
want to do with money or why they want it.
Yeah, and I find that they then immediately default when it is financial related. They immediately default into talking about, okay, but what about investments? Like, how do I invest? And it's like, whoa, hold on, like we're
Yeah.
not there yet. You know, you got to get some basics going, and that's why, like for me, when I was doing that, which I don't really do anymore, it's one of the reasons I have this podcast is to try and like maybe still convey a message through other people and sometimes myself, for people to kind of um, understand a little bit more about business, about personal finance and all of that. But um, I personally find that I like to kind of mix those two. So I didn't specifically say I'm a financial coach, I'm a financial advisor, financial planner, but I definitely try to take people through a conversation before talking about, okay, should I be investing in a retirement annuity, or what is a retirement annuity versus a pension fund? Because people often don't understand these terms. And I think the financial services industry, that's how they've maintained that they are valuable. You said it like expert, but it's
Yeah.
to keep these things a little bit complicated and for people not to
Yes. Mysterious.
mysterious. But I also think people don't they like to act less knowledgeable about things rather than do that. And I've always, like, my approach has always been from the start, like when I got defaulted into selling insurance, was always to say, like, can you maybe just like do some reading? Here's a couple of things you can read. When you come back, let's have a conversation where you at least have some basic knowledge and actually know more about what you don't know, rather than saying, I don't know anything. So I don't know how
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that you've experienced that
No,
in
that
terms
that
of,
resonates. Like we've built into our process, which we call our My Journey to Freedom experience, because it's a
okay,
journey, it's an experience. We spend at least 10 to 20 hours with our clients before we even get to like, and now how are you going to invest?
yeah,
Um, One of the things we build in is what one would call the financial literacy. We
yes,
get our clients to go get all your financial data, all the statements, all the policy documents, put it
mm,
all in one place. Go and look at your expenses and your spending, dump it into a
mm,
spreadsheet, and then we get together and we call it our money flow session. And
okay,
literally, I'm like, where does money flow into your life? Where does money flow out of your
out,
life?
yeah,
And do you actually understand where you're sending it and what you're telling it to do? And
yeah,
we unpack, like, okay, so you've got this policy, but like, do you understand what it means? And
mm,
what do you want to understand about it? Like, what would make you feel empowered if you could go to
mm,
a dinner party tonight and tell people? And that's often been a goal for my clients. I've had clients
okay,
go, I want to be able to go to a braai and tell people that what I'm doing with my money. Like I want to be able to understand it so well
right,
that I can tell my friends I've got this thing and that thing and this is how this works, and
mm,
not feel stupid.
okay,
Because I think so many people feel like they don't understand and they feel a lot of shame around
okay.
it.
That's an interesting one, because I think the other one, or the, call it excuse or thing that I get, is that a lot of people, or maybe it is because of that, but they basically, it's a sort of like ostrich syndrome. They just want to put their head in the ground and like ignore it.
Yeah.
I think
It's
that's
too
like the
big, it's too
first,
scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Why do you think that is? Like, what's your experience with clients and having done some of these, worked with something?
Oh,
What's your experience of why that is? Where does
I
it come from?
where does it come from? If
Mm,
I was Brene Brown, I would be talking about all my research around shame,
okay.
shame and vulnerability. I think a
Okay.
lot of people have so much shame.
Yeah.
We live in an instant social media world. We're seeing everyone's highlights reels on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and it all
Mm,
looks like everyone's got their shit sorted. And
mm.
crap, I don't have my shit
I don't.
sorted.
Yeah.
And that deep shame, that the level of confrontation that I would have to face and to take to look at it is too terrifying. Most people will
Right.
just pretend it's not there.
Mm,
And if I go to a financial advisor, they're going to tell me how I'm fucking up and how
mm.
I'm doing everything wrong and what I should be doing and how much money I should have. And that just perpetuates the cycle, and I feel even worse.
That's interesting, because I remember when I started as an insurance sales, we did what is called an FNA, financial needs analysis. It was like a
Mm.
calculator that you got.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that you kind of work out is you ask a person, like, I mean, it's an arbitrary question, but like, oh, how much you want to earn in retirement? Like, what's your goal? And you know, it's like, I don't know, like, I don't even know that. But let's say they went like, okay, well, I'm earning 10,000 rand now. I'd probably want to earn a similar amount, or whatever the answer is. We know it's
Mm.
for you, future value it, all of that. It's all these interesting, fancy calculations. But then you get to a number which is totally unrealistic in terms of what you need to, especially if you've started late, like that you need to be saving in order to get to that goal.
Yeah.
And I think that number made it even worse for people who are
Yeah.
already, as you say, worried that they're behind, shameful that they maybe in the situation that they are, or that they haven't done this. And then this financial advisor like puts this huge figure in front of them and say, well, if you want to reach your retirement goal, you're going to have to save like half of your salary or more in order to
Exactly.
get there. It's like, what? How do you even, it's like a, it's like it's not even an elephant. It's a freaking, it's a planet
Yeah,
that you need to like
exactly.
start eating.
It's like all the animals. Exactly. It's like we start with the shortfalls. We start with what you haven't done, and we sort of
Mm,
smush it in your face, and
mm.
then we whip out this proposal, going like, "But look here, if you invest here," and we show all the graphs and the charts and the
Yeah,
big
you could
fat
maybe
amount of
get this.
commission that we're going to earn from selling this to you now as well.
Mm,
Um, like, yeah, no wonder people are terrified
yeah.
and don't know where to get help either. Because I also think that
Mm,
conversation, that F&A is designed to result in that product sale, right?
of
For
course,
the
it's all it
advisors, so
was
they can
done.
earn. It's all that
Mm,
it's about. So, hey, client, you're fucking up. Here's a huge shortfall. Don't worry, I have the product. I can fix it. Don't look at the commission I'm going to earn. Let's hide that. Okay, cool. Um, and
yeah,
now,
because I've also got some financial problems. That's what I found with financial advisors. Like they've
yes,
got a
yes,
huge car and a house to pay. They're not actually on top of their finances, anyways. It's like,
totally. It's all an
fuck, I
illusion.
need this
Yeah.
commission now. Otherwise I'm fucked at the end of the month.
And it's that conflict of interest, competing interests, and the
Yeah.
poor client probably just needs some help with facing reality and what's going on and how they're
Mm,
making choices about their money, and maybe they
mm,
need to go earn more, maybe there's other
mm,
factors at play, maybe they need some help with budgeting and building spend plans, maybe they've got awful addictions and habits and they're just
mm,
literally like pouring money into a toilet. But
mm.
a policy is not going to help that, it's not
Not
going to
gonna,
solve
yeah.
for that. And then they
And
lose
that's why
trust. Like, who
policies,
can help me
yeah,
with the needs that I have? Like, it's not
yeah.
easy to identify.
But now, just back to my journey to freedom. Like, just give us an idea of the
Yeah.
program. Like, how long is it? Is it
Mhm.
indefinite? Like if somebody was going, okay, well, I'm interested. This sounds like something I should be doing. What are the sort of facts about it? What would you say? What's your
Yeah.
marketing? What's your elevator pitch for my?
What's our elevator pitch? Damn, you to put me on the spot. Um, so yeah, essentially we're there. I mean, so we talk about change makers as our
Okay.
ideal clients. Often they are self-employed or
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, sometimes entrepreneurs as well.
What's
People
that?
that feel like there's more to life than just being an employee, going to work 9 to 5, getting
But
a
yeah,
salary. So
but
they've
they
got a
are
bit of a,
currently.
but they are currently, they could be.
Mm,
Entrepreneurs often have a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset. So
okay.
I don't see my salary as like everything. I want a side gig. I've got a passion
Oh wow.
project,
Okay. Cool.
something I want to build. And I
Yeah.
think also, millennials and the younger generations, we don't see ourselves getting into one job and spending
Mm,
40 years there and getting to the
right.
end.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also possibly don't see ourselves doing the same thing for our whole lives. We have lots of different
Okay.
interests and passions. And
Mm,
so those are the kind of people which we work with, people who go, there's more
okay.
to life than just a 9 to 5. I want to make some kind of impact on the world. Like, I believe in something, I've got a cause, but
Mm,
how the hell do I do this money story?
okay.
Like, I can't afford to buy a house. I'm supposed to get married, but how do you pay for a wedding? I want to enjoy life. I want to travel. I want to do fun stuff.
Mm,
And there's this maybe a business as well that I'm trying to start or I have been running that's doing well. But there's this whole confusion around like, how do I get to my next? How do I deal with the
okay.
money part? How do I balance passion and purpose? And then our journey
Yeah.
is it for me, it should be at least a year because it takes
It
time
it's
to
actually
kind of
sounding like like I've got a regular therapy session every week. It's sounding
yes.
like you need
Yes.
this. You actually need it indefinitely, right? Or
Well, you should. Money is a relationship, right? So
yeah.
it's not something you just do once and it goes away. It should be
Mm,
an ongoing
mm,
part of your life that you pay attention to. And so,
mm.
where we see our role is to help people kickstart that process. Like, we're here to help you create that foundation
Yeah.
and build habits and routines and a mindset that is going
Mm.
to help you with that relationship moving forward. Like, ideally, you're going to do a year's program to create the foundation, and then
Okay.
hopefully you want to work with us moving forward.
Forward. Okay.
But the frequency, I think it takes at least 12 months to build habits, especially
12
around
months of
money.
like how many and what's in between that? Like, is there a
It
weekly
could
check-in?
be
Is there a monthly check-in? Is it?
so face to face. We could be doing a monthly check-in,
Mm.
but we can be connected via emails and WhatsApp and digital communication.
Okay.
The idea is not that we spoon feed and we do the work
Mm.
for our clients, but that we walk alongside. So
Okay.
every session we connect and we have a topic that we focus on, and then there's an action point. And what I
Mm.
discovered too along my journey is people need time to go into the world, to try something out, to experiment, to get feedback, and then they
To
come
make the
back and we
mistake
discuss it.
or the
To make the
mm.
mistake, to learn, to
To learn,
achieve
yeah.
something, and come
Achieve
back with
something, yeah.
like a major win that we can
Mm.
celebrate. And then our sessions, I mean, we do at least 2 to 3 weeks apart so that people have time
Yeah.
to experience and see
Okay,
how
so like
things go.
a fortnightly check-in at least
Hmm.
on something specific.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
it
And is
starts
and
more frequent in the beginning and it gets, less
mm,
over time, where once
of
we've built
course.
a spending plan, you probably want to
Mm.
go put it into action for 2 or 3 months, see
And
how
see
it
how it goes.
goes, and then
Yeah.
we can review it.
Review it, yeah. And tell me, and what is it like? Is there a monthly cost to this? Is there a sessionary cost, or is it what's the sort of? Do you charge monthly? Is it a retainer? What?
Yeah,
How
so
do you?
we've tried to stay flexible because for some people it feels like getting married, to pick up a retainer and to go
Yeah,
like, I'll be your financial coach for life.
yeah.
So there are some people are ready for that and they're like, yes, please, I want to go on this journey. I need the support. They see the value, and
Mm,
then we work out a monthly retainer.
mm,
Others go, I'd like to dip my toes and just see what this is like. See if I like you, Mary, or Marguerite, who
mm,
they're working with.
yeah.
And then we do a pay as you go thing, and we just work it out from there.
Okay, pay as you go as in monthly or session wise or hourly?
We'll do a session rate, and then any
Mm.
additionals we'll charge for those. We also bring in psychometric assessments and tools to help people better understand themselves and the way that they
Themselves,
see the
yeah.
world.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
cool. Okay,
it is cool. It's very
nice.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so and then yeah, that sounds like a very interesting business. Or and service for people
Mm,
to actually look into. But tell me, in terms of your own sort of like, I mean, this is the other thing I just mentioned it now with financial advisors that sell insurance. One of the ways that they actually get guys to be able to sell more is to like convince them to get a flashy car and buy that so that if you can't rock up in a Polo, so you got to get a Beamer. Like make sure that the client doesn't think you're poor. So
hmm Yeah.
they get into major debt and whatever. And like a lot of the insurance sales, financial advisor guys, especially at like big insurance companies, the agency forces, they're not really good at doing their own finances.
Hmm.
One of the reasons I got into, well, I mean, I actually fell into it in terms of that I actually wanted to study something else. Studied the postgrad diploma in financial planning, which is like it's like a postgrad level of studies, which is way above what's needed to be like a basic financial advisor at an insurance company, but wanted to actually add it to my legal degree. Next thing, I'm going for an interview at an insurance company and get pulled in as in the sales force. And I had nothing better going at the time. So I was like, okay, cool.
Hmm.
But from a personal perspective, like money was always an interesting thing for me. And I was pretty good with my own finances already. And I think that also translated into the clients that I got. And yes, sure, I sold insurance, and often it was about it, but I didn't go in. I already took a different approach because of my own like understanding of money, and then also because I'm studying a postgrad diploma where they're talking about holistic financial planning, estate planning, and all these wonderful things that most people don't actually need. It's really just for like super wealthy people. So I never even got to use the skills that I had because I wasn't the financial advisor of a Corbis Visa or something that needs to get offshore trusts and local trusts going. And I knew all of that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
those two things, I think, I think that helped me help other people. How is your sort of financial journey gone, and how do you use that in your business, and what's your sort of approach to personal finance for you?
Mm, mm. It's definitely a key trigger to how I got to where I am.
Mm,
I mean, I grew up in a family where my father died when I was 5. There was no life insurance. He changed
sure,
jobs in medical aid, so there was medical debt because the medical aid didn't want to pay because of pre-existing conditions.
sure,
My mom needed to sell all the assets and negotiate with creditors to pay things off or not pay them. She needed to go back to work to provide for my brother and I.
mm,
Um, they just bought a house. You know, they made all sorts of decisions whilst he was sick. He had a brain tumor, so it was a couple of years. So
sure,
my life started off having a lot of stuff. I mean, we had a lovely house. We had Mnet when it first came out, like all those kind of cool things as a kid. And
mm,
then they slowly got taken away as the breadwinner of our family had disappeared.
mm,
Ironically, my father's best friend was a financial advisor
okay,
and was very present in there, but that wasn't enough. My parents
mm,
didn't make really great financial choices,
yeah,
but they made the best choices they could at the time. So
yeah.
I
And you were
watched my
only
mom
five at
struggle.
you were
I
only
was
five
5.
at the
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
remember before that how good it was and how you thought your life was okay. Because that's
Well,
quite
it just
that's quite
wasn't a
big.
thing. Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah,
money
yeah,
wasn't a thing. It wasn't
yeah,
even, but it became a thing and it
yeah,
became everything.
yeah,
And I just watched my mother struggle. She was a government employed teacher. I watched her need to go to my grandparents and ask them for money to pay SARS when her tax wasn't paid, and there were discrepancies in her tax. And my grandfather sitting there with a typewriter, like typing out the check, all stoically, and the shame that my mother felt having to ask her
shit.
father to help her
Mm,
out. And what happened in me was like a deep curiosity. Like, what the
right.
hell is this money thing? Like, why are the
Mm,
grown-ups so like hectically impacted by it? Um, for most of my childhood, I think my grandmother made clothes for my mom, and then my mom made clothes for me and my brother. But at some point, I grew up and was like, I don't want to wear homemade tracksuits with Mickey Mouse on them. Like
mm.
I want cool, like in the early 90s, it was like surfing, big baggy board shorts and like
Yeah,
baggy
yeah,
surf
yeah.
t-shirts. And I
Island
wanted that
style.
kind of stuff. Island style,
Gotcha.
exactly. Gotcha.
Gotcha.
I wanted a pair of real Converse, but I had to go to Shoe City and get the like all the 1 stars, not the all
No.
stars. And it sucked being this
Oh my god.
like
Yeah.
knockoff version of the cool kid that I wanted to be. And of course, I mean,
Okay.
kids, we want stuff and like it's not
Yeah.
real, and there's a lot of maturity that comes through that journey. But
Mm.
what it did was I got to an age where I realized money wasn't going to get given to me. It wasn't like my mom would suddenly have money to fulfill all my wants and desires. And so I was motivated to get a job. And I got my first job when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. Like, it was
Okay.
terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I had to talk to people, I had to sell them stuff. But I very quickly learned that you just be helpful and you just help people. And I worked in a
Mm.
really fun, funky clothing store with like
Oh
awesome
wow.
music and lots of
Okay.
awesome people. And it was so cool making money and having money
Mm.
and being able to pay my way in the world. As of the whole of high school, I had money for clothes. I got discounts on clothes in the store I worked in. I had money for parties as well,
Mm.
and everything that went with that. And I was able to also save so I could buy
Mm.
myself the cool stuff I wanted. And
No,
something
yeah.
I've always been interested in and love is technology. So one of
Okay.
my proudest moments is at the end of matric. I was able to move out the house the day after my final matric exams because I could afford the rent.
Mm.
Um, and I bought myself my first computer,
Oh
like
wow.
mine, as in I owned it. And it was this amazing computer. We could play World of Warcraft, and I moved into a flat where we had a LAN running.
Oh
Um,
wow. Land.
and
Did you have land parties?
we had LAN parties, like we had like 3 bedrooms and a living room, and we'd have like
Yeah.
people set up in different rooms, and we'd be
Yeah.
screaming
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the apartments at each other, and like an entire weekend just sitting
Yeah.
in
Just
your
like sitting and
pajamas
playing.
and eating crap and playing World of Warcraft as our game. So
Okay.
it felt really, really good to be able to like take care of myself.
Yeah.
And know that I didn't need to beg or plead with my mom, who didn't have what she could give me.
Mm.
So yeah, I continued working. I mean, I was in a managerial position in the store in my matric year, so I kind of matriculated into a full-time job. And then I continued in retail, and I fell pregnant when I was 23.
Okay.
And that was also a really big pivot in my money story.
Okay.
Because I was earning a ton of money, I was doing really well, I was living up the life, and then the responsibility value kicked in terms
Mm.
of like, there's a human coming, and I
Yeah.
do not want to repeat history. So, what can I do differently to make sure that the same experience I had as a child won't happen to my own child?
Yeah.
So, I was probably one of the only 23-year-olds in the world to contact a financial advisor and go, how do I get life insurance?
Yeah,
Um,
like what? I didn't
like,
have to call. Someone's calling me for insurance.
exactly. So like I remember Facebook was just a thing at that time, and there was
Okay.
this girl I went to school with, and I saw that she was working for an investment company, and I was like, Tracy, help me out, like I need life insurance, where do I
Yeah.
get this? And
Yeah.
so she hooked me up with the advisor in her place, and I got my first Old Mutual Green Light policy. And I felt so proud of myself. I got a will as well. I was like,
Mm.
I need a will.
Amazing.
So I'm 23 years old. I've got life insurance. I've got a will. And I had a policy, a legacy thing that I'd inherited. It was one of
Mm.
those sort of piece of shit endowment policies with a life insurance thing attached to it. And it was
Yeah.
like this black hole of a product where I tried to put money into it, but I couldn't see where money was going. And
Yeah.
I remember this advisor saying, you can take an interest-free loan. And then they introduced me to Alan Gray platform. And that was kind of my
Okay.
first venture into a clean platform with clean pricing and taking control of, I now want to save towards my future and my child's future.
Okay.
Um,
Did you go direct
and
or through an advisor with Alan Gray?
I was through an advisor at the
Okay.
time.
Good time, yeah.
Their fees are pretty reasonable. They're still a pretty decent
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
investment company,
Yeah.
and it was just such a positive experience. And I yeah just really was so fascinated with like how to make this money story work.
Mm.
And then eventually that led to me approaching. So the problem I experienced, actually, this was a really interesting experience. Um, so this guy helped me, but
Mm.
he was the key individual of this financial services provider, and they had a
Mm.
vision to create an online business, and he didn't really want to be the person being the advisor. Is kind of the feeling I got. So he
Oh, I
hired
see.
someone, an incredible woman. She helped me with my first retirement annuity. So by like 24, 25, I now have a retirement annuity, and I'm
Good
like
time to
doing all the
start.
things. Good times have started, right?
If you
Feeling good
don't
about
start,
myself.
that's when you get these serious numbers. Like
Those
you're
terrifying
supposed
numbers.
to start when you're like 23. Anyway, yeah, something like that.
Exactly, exactly. So I was
Mm.
doing the right stuff, but she wasn't able to sustain herself on whatever she was earning, her commissions, her fees. So
Mm.
within a year, she left that company, and I didn't have an advisor. And I found myself
Mm.
sitting there going like, I need help. I want to do this. You're amazing, but now I'm stuck with these guys because you're gone. And like, what do I do? I felt like really left alone and afloat. And I think
Mm.
there's so many people that experience this. Like, there's
Mm.
this whole debate in the industry about who owns the relationship. You know, the advisor can't take the client with them, but now I don't really have a relationship with this company either.
Mm.
So I remembered that in the prenatal classes that I went to when I was pregnant with my daughter, there was this guy. One of the husbands was a financial advisor, and so I was like, okay, contact Stuart, and I contacted him and was like, I need help. You know, I want to be on top of my stuff.
Mm.
And his feedback to me was, but Mary, like, this is incredible. Like, your spreadsheets, you're like, what are you talking? Like, have you ever considered working in this industry? And of
Oh,
course,
really?
I never had. But that spark of a thought, I was like, oh, that could be really cool. Like, I could help people
Right.
with their money. Like, just imagine that.
Yeah.
Teach them what I know. And at the time I was working for a casino company selling online slot machines.
Okay.
So I was also experiencing a lot of discomfort about how I was selling and taking people's money to play
Right.
this like silly Facebook game. And here was this opportunity to move into a world where I could help people and help
Mm.
more people not live the same childhood and story that I had lived. So
Mm.
that was my opportunity. It took me a year to go study and get my first certificates and
Mm.
make the transition and figure out. I took on a paraplanner role. I took a 50% pay cut to
Okay.
also get into the industry, but it worked. The timing was
Mm.
great. And
What year was this? So you would have had to.
2013.
Okay, so that you would have had to have your minimum qualification at that point, like, or at some, or.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I needed the. I think I started off with NQF 4. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that I could have started with the NQF 5. So I did NQF 4 first, which was
Yeah.
lovely. It was easy. I aced it, and that I think boosted my confidence.
Yeah.
And then I started off as a paraplanner, doing all the background calculations, going to all the presentations, learning about all the
Mm.
products and building relationships with the product providers. And then within 6 months, I got on the licenses under supervision and started that journey to being more client facing and
Okay.
focusing on those conversations, which
Mm.
was interesting because that then was my first encounter with the conflict of interest between having nice conversations and getting to understand the client. And 3 hours later, they're not ready to sign the papers. But I go back to the business and my boss is like, "What did you do for 3 hours?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, "I
Yeah.
built a
Yeah.
relationship."
Yeah.
But no
Yeah.
papers were signed
Yeah.
because the client doesn't need this right now. They still need to figure
Yeah.
out some other stuff in their life. So yeah, it was a good and
Okay.
interesting experience.
And then when did you start? You obviously found, I mean, probably like I did, I don't know your whole
Mm,
story, but like I did, that if you're going to do it the way that you think is best,
mm.
but you still need to be licensed to some degree, the best is probably just to get your own financial services license, and not have people bothering you about how you're going to approach this
Yeah.
thing, and not bothering you for sales. Except what I found was that if you're going to have product providers sign up with them, even if you've got your own FSP, they put pressure on you as well. You're like, as the product
Mm.
provider. So now it's not like a your boss who's got an FSP who's also got product providers probably breathing down his neck, but also needs to make money for the business in their way. You now do your own thing. You open your own FSP. You think no one's going to bug you anymore. But then product providers often bug you, except the investment platforms. For them, I think you
Oh, they're
sign
super
up with
chilled.
them, they're like chill.
Yeah.
I think my
They're
first
really chilled.
funny. I'm gonna have to ask Alan Gray to actually maybe sponsor a podcast, because this is the second podcast that we're talking about Alan
We're
Gray
talking about
specifically
them.
mentioning, and we're talking about them. But they were literally my first contract as well. Like, I
Mm.
just wanted to kind of focus on savings and investment type of advice. I mean, I also really have believe in having insurance, life insurance, because
Mm.
I'm the product of a father that died, who had a bit of life cover, and that was what helped me and my mother and my sister get through the basics of school and university. So
Yes.
I'm a product of someone that got some life, and maybe they could have gotten a bit more, or my dad, but I mean, he
Mm.
was a little bit uninsurable, being a political activist in Namibia apparently, and only PPS is the professional insurer, because he was an
Mm.
advocate, were the only ones willing to cover him at the time. Old Mutuals, Sanlams of the world were like, no, because Namibia so small, they're like, no, we're not going to insure you too, but you're too big a risk, which he
Mm.
was
Mm.
obviously in the end because he got killed. But um,
Amazing.
I lost my train of thought. Alan Gray, yeah, was my first
Yes.
contract. So
Yeah.
yeah. But how
Yeah.
did
For
you how did
me,
you experience it in terms of starting your own? And that's probably why you did.
yes.
And how have you experienced having your own financial services provider license? Yeah.
Yeah. So you hit the nutshell. What happened was I realized that there was this like conflict between sales and helping people, and that there
Mm,
wasn't a business model for it. Like, how do
mm,
you like? I'm spending this time. How do I get paid for this time? Why are we not charging people for this time?
mm,
I helped people with their debts. I mean, someone
yeah.
came to me with they bought a car and they overdraft, and I was like, "Whoa, red flags. Okay, cool." And they canceled their medical aid and everything. So
Mm,
I spent 18 months helping them get out of debt, where it was just like carefully calculated spreadsheets and a heck of a lot of discipline.
Wow.
And then eventually they got medical aid back, and eventually they were investing and managed to save for a deposit for property.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate to have some mentors. I was exposed to some of the great names in the industry.
Mm.
Rob McDonald and the
Mm.
Funhouse crew had a
Right.
big influence. They were working with my boss Stuart and on his business, and I had started to study coaching as well.
Mm.
And I'd kind of explored and benefited from coaching previously, and I found myself sitting with that sort of vision of coaching, financial planning, like they need to go together, but no one is
Mm.
doing it. And why is no one doing it? And why aren't we
Mm.
doing it? And it just wasn't possible to bring that vision into where I was at the time. So it really
Right.
felt like the only option was to leave and start my own thing.
Mm.
Um,
And when did you
and
do
I've
that?
been
What year was that you started your own?
I registered the business 2016, and May 2017 I got my FSP license.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay. Cool.
just less than a year. And it's a hell of a lot of work getting a license. Oh my gosh.
Just to
But
get it, yeah.
just to get everything set up. But fortunately, like my boss at the time was really supportive. Like he understood my vision. We understood it wasn't a personal thing. It was just like, I have to pursue this path. And so he was
Okay.
very
So he
supportive.
knew
and
that you were
worked
getting an
out
FSP
an exit
license.
strategy. He did, yeah. We had a 6-month plan for me to exit his business. And I continued to do some consulting work actually for his business for a period of time to give me a boost as well. Because, yeah, running your own business is hectic. It's so hectic.
No, sure.
And those conflicts of interest between how do you get paid and how do you help people? How do you price yourself right? And give the service that you believe is of value? They're real. They're hard questions. Your own personal, I would say I've been really good with my money when I was employed, and I had money to be good with. Being self-employed throws you into a situation where if you don't have money to be good with, you can't be good with money.
Anyway, yeah, you got to
exactly.
You got
It's
to
like
make
there's no
money
money.
before you can be really good with your own money.
This is it. And
Yeah.
I went through some really, really dark phases where I even started to question, like, am I good with my own money? Like, am I making good decisions for myself? Am I an imposter, trying to help everyone else with their money, but actually, like, I'm really struggling here. And that's so, so, so hard. But I had these values and I had this vision, and I wasn't willing to compromise on what I believed. So it's been a good couple of years now. This is like what, the 6th, 7th year that my journey to freedom's been going. It has evolved, it has iterated, we've grown a bit. I've got Marguerite in with me at the moment, looking at other people getting involved and investing and joining the business too. So people see the value, people love the concept and idea. I feel like we've got a way of speaking to the people that we want to work with that they resonate with as well. So I'm beyond just the friends and family now, and like into the space where strangers approach me and like, hey, I need some help. And then I can see, oh, they contacted me on Instagram a year ago, and they've been following me for a while. And it has led to, in the past year, I've needed to pull back a little bit on putting 100% of my time into the business, and balance it out with doing some other work as well. So living the concept of diversification by not having all my eggs and putting all the pressure
and
on
having
that
different
business.
streams of
And having different
income
streams
as
of
well.
income. Yeah. And that again goes back to where I started with like this millennial multi-potential idea. It's like I have skills in coaching, I have skills in training and facilitation. So I'm now using those skills more to work in other people's businesses to make the money so that I can use and reinvest all the money that goes into my journey to freedom to grow it into what I believe it can be. And that was one of the hardest things of the entrepreneurial journey. I read Shoe Dog last year, the Nike founder's book.
Yes.
And it was like so affirming, because it took him like 10 to 15 years or something for Nike to become successful. And last year was a really dark year, and I found myself sitting there going like, they said it would take 5 years, and it's 5 years.
It's funny,
And
yeah.
then I read this book, and I was like, oh crap, it might
It's
be like
15,
another 5
15.
years.
Yeah.
Um, and that actually the world of work has shifted and changed, and it's okay to do multiple things. Like I
Mm,
can be the founder of a business that's still in a startup phase, and I can be working and earning from doing other
mm,
things at the same time. Like we don't have to limit ourselves and box
mm.
ourselves into only one option or choice or way of engaging with the world.
Yeah, I've actually been often put down for it. People have gone like, but you don't
Mm.
focus on anything. What do you actually do? Like, what are you doing? It's like I've literally been ridiculed for the fact that I do over the last like 20 years been doing so many different things, but it's brought me to where I am now. And
Yeah.
some friends of mine actually have a sort of a creative entrepreneurial community. They're doing, a lot of work putting different creatives together, creative entrepreneurs. Actually, they interviewed me and did an article, which is really, I mean, I was like, read it, and I was like, did I say that stuff? But
Awesome.
they wrote it really well too. But it's and it was about celebrating the fact that I have all these different experiences that I've done
Yes.
legal things. I've been in financial services. I've had my own FSP. I've sold my FSP. I've gotten involved in regulatory stuff on the crypto side because, someone came to me and said, a school friend of mine came to me and said, like, yeah, I know law. I know you've been in financial services. There's no regulatory framework at the moment for crypto like 6 years ago. Like, don't you want to help me, start this thing which is crypto focused and is going to have some products in that space. And that journey's taken us to now basically having to apply for licenses because finally the regulators have started doing that. And this is what we've kind of been looking for the last 6 years in some respects.
Mm.
And that's taken me to and this has taken me to starting this podcast because I've got all these different skills and I've met so many
All these
interesting
threads.
people. Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
met so many interesting people over the years doing all those different things that I've got a long list of people that I want to talk to. I don't even know when I'll get to everyone because it's not. This is a sort of a passion research project at the moment. It's actually still,
Yeah.
I'll say it's like a research project because I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I'll carry on with it. But it was an idea, and I kind of just went with it, and that's what I do. Like,
Mm.
one business book I once read was one of the first because I did that a lot. Like when I didn't have work and I didn't want to actually have my own business. I actually wanted a job, and I couldn't get one. One of the things I did is I read a lot of sort of business books.
Mm.
I read so many that at the moment, like I don't think I've finished a book in the last 2 or 3 years. Anyway,
Sated. Yeah.
yeah. So that line was, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going.
Yes. Yes.
So I just got this podcast going. Like that was, one of the things I wanted to do, but not. I'm starting. Then I start talking about myself, and then I'm like, "What the fuck were we talking about?"
Well, you did
I'm
spark
such an asshole.
you're
Sorry.
not an asshole, not at all. But you did spark a thought. Like I
Okay.
would define one of my life philosophies being that concept of like start where you are, use what you have,
Mm,
do what you can, and kind of
yeah.
trust that a non-linear approach to things will result in something else. And I mean,
Mm,
that's been my life as well. Like there was no plan A, plan, A to Z, this
mm,
is how it's going to look. I also studied a little bit of BCom law. I didn't finish it. It was really
mm,
hard, working full time, being in
mm.
relationships, and also trying to study at the same time, part time through UNISA, which is like its own story.
Yeah, your
Um,
niece is not the greatest in terms of even. I mean, I've tried to
it's not
study through them.
amazing.
Yeah, it's not amazing. So I mean, like I can't even register with them. I don't even know how. There's no information. It's like, how do people even
I haven't looked
fucking
at it for
start
like
there? Yeah,
exactly. And that's when I got to financial planning, it was so exciting because I could do like short certificates as
yeah.
opposed to this like 10-year long part-time degree that was going to
Yeah,
take forever. So even just discovering there's other ways of learning and studying, it doesn't have to be a university degree that's so structured.
exactly.
And the world has evolved in that way too, was enlightening. So yeah, a lot of my
Mm,
stories kind of been like accidentally ending up somewhere, but I can see how all the threads connect and I can see how they've all resulted in where I
yeah.
am.
I think your
and
financial
benefited.
advice sort of journey and with the FSP, I mean, that sounds much more structured than my journey was in getting into financial
Mm.
advice. I mean, it was literally, like I said, I was studying a postgrad diploma. I actually wanted to possibly be just that. I actually saw job ads at the time. I was literally for like 6 months, almost a year, I was literally just sending out CVs. In the meantime, I was doing like hand to mouth legal stuff, contract here,
Yeah.
make some money, hustle, hustle, hustle. And but I was looking for jobs the whole time. And suddenly I was like, this the legal advisor jobs. And I was like, it in LLB and a CFP. I'm like, this looks
Mm.
interesting. And it's like, looked into the CFP and sounded fancy, like you get a designation. And, it's like, it
Ooh.
looked good. Yeah, it was like, ooh, okay, cool. And guess what? I can then get a job because a lot of people are looking for an LLB CFP. So I go and get started, and it was at the time it was still relative. It was actually the second class of the University of Stellenbosch that started that, because you used to just have the University of the Free State offering this very specialized postgrad.
Yeah.
And actually, it was someone showed me in the newspaper the graduation of these postgrad diploma people, the first ones of Stellenbosch Business School. And one of them was a lady that was actually then researcher, and she was a legal advisor at Old Mutual. And I actually called her and I said, "Listen, looking into this thing, seen there's jobs available in this in they're looking in legal advisors. Obviously, also trying to make a contact. Maybe she'd say, oh, we actually got a legal advisor. If you do the CFP, maybe we can let me know." But she was like, "No, do it. It's great, especially if you've done law. A lot of it is legislative. Like, I mean, one of the first things you learn, and even with regulatory exams that we need to do as financial, or that one needs to do financial advisor, it's literally an act, the phase act, or one or two acts that you need to understand the details of.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like your first thing, so it's actually comes quite easy to do the the postgrad if you're a lawyer. The thing that you don't necessarily know about is all the financial calculations which you need to do when you study that postgrad. And
Yes.
then
Yes.
I'm in this class again. I'm trying, I'm a hustler at this point already. Like, I don't have a job. There was also a guy from Old Mutual, and he was in like the product design team or something, which basically they build the products that they then sell on, and they, look at all the legalities and whatever. And I said, like, maybe, I'm looking for like a legal advisor job, maybe at Old Mutual, or one of the big insurers. And this other guy, who was a financial advisor at Liberty, he goes like, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I can." He's like, "Well, why don't you come to my manager, and he's always looking for people." Notwithstanding the fact that Liberty paid guys to recruit other people into the agency force. So he was like going to get 5 grand for if I took the job.
Oh, oh my gosh.
Imagine that. Yeah, he was, if they
Yeah,
pay
that's
you to
insane.
recruit. So no wonder he was like, yeah, and I'm thinking, cool, man.
Come to the
I
dark
didn't,
side.
yeah, I didn't know anything about this. I mean, I kind of knew insurance, but, and then next thing I'm basically selling insurance for Liberty. But awesome experience. And I think sales is an important thing, except I don't think it's good when you're playing with people's money, in a way. Sales is good when you're selling like vacuum cleaners or something. It's like it's
Yeah, yeah.
or
It's
whatever, sell
I have a
something else.
love-hate relationship with it. It's a skill.
Mm,
I don't believe I could sell ice to an Eskimo. My heart's too soft and I care too much. And I'm like, you don't need
mm.
this ice. That's okay. Do you want a pen? Do you need the pen? Okay, no, that's cool. I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
I've actually got extra pens. You can have that one.
yeah, there we
You
go.
don't need
Exactly.
to.
And it's not a great
It-
business strategy. But
yeah.
a big learning of mine was that service and helping people is
Mm,
what works for me. And I'm
mm,
best when I'm in that space. And I'm best when I'm going,
mm,
this is what I can do. Like, do you
mm,
need help with this? Do you feel we could work together? And then just
mm,
stepping back and just focusing on the
mm.
people that are interested and that do want to work with me.
Yeah, and that are
Um,
hungry for more info and knowledge, and
exactly. And
yeah.
tapping into that, I mean, defining who I wanted to work with was so vital on my journey and really changed things to go like there is this group of people who are struggling with and there's a whole like spiritual thing around it too, like
Mm,
abundance and purpose, and like making a difference in the world, changing the world, but
mm,
this money thing, and how to reconcile, like, hey, you can do spiritual abundance and purpose and like have an incredible spiritually rich life, and you can have money too. Like the two can work together, they're not mutually exclusive.
yeah.
And I do get lots of clients where that's what we need to work through, is like all the belief systems and all the things that they have running them that say like money is bad, money is evil, I can't have it, rich people are awful. um
Yeah.
Such a
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But now I think we've chatted enough about business bucks. We need to
Yeah.
get onto some beach bats.
Beach bats.
What do you what does I mean? And I've decided. I mean, Karen, Courtney, Mary J. What do
Yeah.
you do like in your off time? Because I mean, I know as us as like entrepreneurs and people that have businesses and following and doing things in our businesses that we feel passionate about, we often don't have a lot of time to do other
Mm.
things. Like people, like I try and exercise a little bit, and then people go like, "Well, exercise isn't a hobby." Well, I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy
I like
going to
it too.
pumps. I like going to pump some iron in the gym.
Mm.
What do you
For
do?
me, what do I do? Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, in what time, right? But I'm learning to make more time. It's
Okay.
definitely something. I've been through those phases of like burning myself out and making it all about business and work, and like that sucks. That's a shitty
Mm,
life. That's not the kind of lifestyle I want to live, or that I promote that we can live either.
right.
So got into a much more balanced state this year. It's been quite lovely, sort of indulging myself and going, what do I love to do? What is
Mm,
possible? Top of my list, music and dancing.
mm,
Whether it's in my office, I have like quite an open space in my office next to me over here, and I've got a little
okay.
speaker in the corner here. And like in between
Okay.
meetings and clients, I turn the music up and I have a little dance session. Um,
Yeah, the playlist you
and
sent me on Spotify was quite good.
It's pretty
Yeah.
good. It is pretty
Yeah,
good.
very
That's,
good.
in fact,
Very
that's a
good.
hobby, cultivating playlists.
Yeah, that
Um,
is, eh? That
it is
is.
a hobby. It's
Music
like
is
totally a
definitely, yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Definitely music. I
for
have a
sure.
goal. Like, I had 20 new songs a week, discovering new music.
Discovering new music,
Um,
yeah.
and then I've got
You
family.
still
I've got
game because you said
kids.
you did you did
World of
Warcraft.
Warcraft.
Yeah, do you
Um,
still game? Because I don't.
I
Like I
it,
missed gaming. It was
I miss
like
it too.
no. I missed it in that I didn't
Oh,
game. Like
yes.
because I have a lost childhood basically, but I might still get into it. But
That's a
yeah,
podcast for
so
another day.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so getting into like having a kid and business and all of that, gaming fell by the
Mm,
wayside.
mm,
Definitely something I'm keen about. I recently installed Steam on my laptop, so it's just waiting for me to get back into. I want to go
okay.
find some of those cool platform games we used to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a desire to like get back to being playful and having more fun
Yeah.
and just doing
Yeah.
frivolous things. I think one of my frivolous things is Netflix. And it sounds so cliche, but like I
Mm,
love watching dystopian futures about human beings are going to fuck up the world, and like psychologically how are we going to handle it, and just sort of like those warning flags, like what do we need to do
yeah.
differently to change the world so we don't get there,
You
and
didn't
that
get there,
doesn't
yeah.
happen. Um, and then, yeah, I love exercise. Like, I'm one of those people that I can be
What
quite
do you do
stuck
for
in my
exercise?
head.
What's your favorite?
Um, I've kind of, oof. I mean, this also speaks a lot to my personality and like how I love understanding systems and how they work, and then gaming
Okay.
the system.
Yeah.
So I have got a bit of a routine of how do I get my 300 points for discovery vitality so I can get my
Oh, I
miles at
see.
the end of the week.
Okay. So
And I
you kind of just focus on what you need to do to achieve those.
to do that, yeah. But I mean, I
Okay.
love moving, so, and I love
Yeah.
listening to music at the same time. So I go to gym,
Yeah.
I get on the elliptical trainer. I do love
Yeah.
throwing around a kettlebell or doing some body weight work.
Mm,
And when the sun is shining in Cape Town, getting outdoors is magical too,
yeah.
especially when you've got little kids and they get a little bit rowdy, keep being locked
How many
up.
kids do you actually
Then
have?
two kids,
Okay.
14-year-old and a 3-year-old. It's wild. There's some really great financial planning advantages to that. Like, as
Yeah.
one exits high school, the other one will enter primary school.
Yeah. It's quite
Um,
a big gap.
It's a huge gap. It's insane in
Um,
many ways. And it's also okay. It's
yeah,
made life interesting. And
definitely.
so going to like the promenade and like going for a walk
Yeah.
next to the ocean or in the park, anything to kind of
Mm,
get outdoors and get moving is
mm,
also
that's
one
cool.
of
Yeah.
my key things. And reading. I've started reading novels again this year,
Okay.
like stories. Like it's
Stories. Yeah.
all sorts of interesting like teen trilogies. Like I'm not setting my bar very high, like just entertaining, fun,
Yeah.
interesting
Actually, I
stories.
should probably do that. I should start with simpler books. I should start with like kids' books.
Yes, exactly.
Build myself
So,
up again. Mm.
so that's, yeah, I just stumbled upon them and was like, oh, this is, I think I picked up a book in my daughter's room the one day and was like, that sounds like an awesome story. And it was just so easy to read and it felt so good. And I think I read like the whole trilogy in a week at the beginning of the year. So I felt
Amazing.
accomplished as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'd say those are the key things. Like,
No,
I love
that's
going
a
on
lot. That's a lot.
adventures. Yeah,
What
but
kind
like
of
an adventure
adventures?
for me is getting in the car and just driving somewhere.
Okay.
Let's go to this ocean today, and tomorrow we'll drive and go look at that
Like
ocean or go
sightseeing.
walk there. Yeah, like
Yeah,
sightseeing.
and that's great in Cape
Living in
Town.
Cape Town.
I remember that with because my grandfather was actually like a semi tour guide. So when
Yeah,
he often took us in his car, like when we visited, because I mean, I wasn't living in Cape Town at the time, but came to visit quite a bit. And that was like the greatest, just like driving in his like old Merc and driving around Cape Town. And he's telling us all the same things he tells the tourists on the bus, because he was like one of those bus tourist guys. That was
oh,
one of
cool.
the last things I think he did working. I don't think he worked much in his life, but apparently that's not true either. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
He was the one that spent all the family inheritance that I now need to build up again, because there was nothing left, and my
Interesting.
dad wasn't really around to do that either. So yeah,
Mm,
but
mm,
some people in my family disagree about that, but that's my
mm, mm.
experience of it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
there's lots of
but him
stories and
driving around in
families.
Cape Town, that was great. And he had always sorry, I think are you still there? I
I'm
think
back.
it's yeah, back, cool.
Load
I
shedding.
think
Yay! Living in South
did it
Africa.
switch off? Oh shit. Hopefully
My cable
it'll
turned off.
cut that part out probably, hopefully. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, my grandfather. Yeah, driving us
Yeah.
around Cape Town was great. Especially it's nice for kids as well.
There's so much to explore. Like we've got everything here. One day I
Hmm.
plan on exploring the rest of the world. It is a goal, but for now,
Yeah,
starting,
I mean,
getting out the house here and spread
yeah,
further
there's
through
so
South
much.
Africa.
Cape Town, there's so much to see. Western Cape, there's so much to see. The rest of South
Mm.
Africa, there's so much to see. I come from Namibia, great place to travel as well. There's no
Yes.
need to like go other places in the world. Got some awesome stuff here.
Mm.
But yeah, I think we're getting on to almost an hour, so I think we've covered most of the things we needed to. Unless there's something you would still like to say, or even ask me, who knows?
I mean, I think you and I could talk for like the whole day if we were left
Yeah,
to
I
our
know. Yeah,
own
yeah,
choice. So yeah,
yeah,
happy to peg it here, and who knows, we
yeah.
can always come back and chat again
You know
another
what's
time.
coming. Yeah, I mean, I do say it and I do mean it. I think, and it
Mm,
all depends. As I said, this is still a research project, but the intention
mm.
is definitely to have people back and have a follow up, see where they are, and
Yeah.
things like that. But no promises either in terms of that.
Oh
Who
yeah.
knows? The
Hold it lightly.
podcast might bomb in the next couple of months. So who knows? I need to start getting a sponsor. So because the technology is starting to cost me here, and it wasn't supposed to
Mm.
be something that I actually spend money on either. But anyways, that's a
It's an
kind of a
adventure.
little plug for like if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, let's talk.
Hit me up.
Everyone out there, hit me up. Anyways, cool. So great talking to you. But we'll do the next chat just the two of us without recording it.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
see each
It's
other
been
soon. Oh, and
exciting
we're
and
gonna
fun
and
chatting.
we did say we're gonna go dancing, I think.
Oh yeah. Yes, definitely. Looking forward to that.
Okay, cool. So good to chat
Cool.
to you, man. Have a good day.
You too. Cheers.
Cool, man. Chair. Bye.